Know how to keep yourself turned on in the moment, because taking something up your ass is quite an invasive experience. So yeah, something you have to get used to.
Hello everyone and welcome to the final episode of Redefining Sex for season 1. I'm really excited for this last episode because it's with one of my best mates, Karl, who is a homosexual cis man. Within the LGBTQIA+ community, homosexuality probably does receive the most representation in mainstream media and is perceived to be well understood by the public. However, as we have done all series, we are debunking stereotypes and getting down and into the nitty-gritty. Karl is one of the most eloquent, articulate, and profound people I know, so I'm really looking forward to sharing his story with you all. So let's get into it.
I'm Karl, and I am 25 years old and live in Perth in Western Australia. I'm a gay man and cisgendered, and very happy to be with you today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be with you, and I'm so excited to talk to you about so many things. People think that they have the lesbians and the gays figured out. You see the same stereotype and the same representation over and over again. And
Absolutely.
It's time to break down some of those.
Absolutely not. We didn't touch on it, in fact, which I thought was quite curious considering it was an all-boys school, and we had a very dynamic drama scene, that's for sure. And that I found to be quite a shame because it left me, and I assume many others like me, to search for the answers to all these questions on the internet, which I'm sure we can all agree is a scary, underregulated place. And not to mention when you have to type into Google, how do I douche? What is a prostate? Yeah, that's a scary time on the internet because they drilled safe sex into us like quite vigilantly, that's for sure. But we didn't learn about PrEP, or like the first time I ever heard of that or the concept of PrEP was when I was 19, which seems negligent now looking back.
So negligent.
In my experience, I would say anal sex seems to be the star of the show, so to speak. I guess most people categorize all the foreplay as just ancillary, but obviously great fun, and people don't have anal sex all the time, so especially when you have to fast and douche in preparation. Grindr has opened up a whole world of discreet, quick, right now sex that's available at your fingertips. I like to think of Grindr as like a simultaneous utopia and dystopia. You can find all sorts of things on there. It cheapens the fact that you're having sex. It's not as special, naturally, if you can get it seven nights a week if you so choose. But I feel like I really enjoy it because I get all the straight boys, my dad included, who are jealous and green with envy because they wish that they had the convenience of finding sex so often. So I was like, I'll take the I'll take the small win where I can.
When you first, like, if you take yourself back to the early days of using,
oh my god, that was an absolute terrifying experience. I used to be terrified. You'd go to some strange places and to some strange parks in weird hours of the day. But yeah, you get used to it, and you get used to the fact that no one necessarily wants to have a chat or ask you your name, or they just want to jump straight into it. I've had passionate sex with men whose names I did not know. And nothing but, hi, how's your day been, was exchanged between us before. It's definitely liberated my perspective on sex. Just having things suggested to you that you would never have contemplated ever, but you'll bite just because. And I don't know, I feel like you have the option to discover something you were super into, and who knows. flip side of Grindr that you haven't mentioned might be like how unnecessarily cruel it can be, and people can say many racist and bigoted things to one another. But the fact is that, yeah, it is dividing into separate.
You feel like it's these categories on Grindr's creating division?
In the sense that you could just distinguish between a mass guy or a femme guy.
Yeah. And then you touched on racism. Have you received racism?
No, it's more like people's headlines that you notice where it's like instantly like, no Asians, or no black, or no Latino, or no this, or no that, or no chubby, or no people who can't use the correct there, and there.
Yeah.
But essentially everyone's quite exclusive and can be quite judgmental, especially when you're sitting behind your phone, tucked in bed in the dark. It's quite easy to be a keyboard warrior.
What's the need in having those categories on Grindr?
Yeah, I suppose unlike Tinder, anyone can talk to anyone, whether you liked them or not.
Yeah.
So in the very Grindr fashion, they want to be straightforward. Does that give you like unbounded discretion as to be however hedonistic and racist and bigoted as you want?
No.
Just because it's sexual desire?
No.
I don't know.
Do you think that there is starting to be like a voice where people are saying like, Grindr, you've got to do something about this?
Yeah, actually, I've noticed they're ramping up their anti-bullying and anti-racist rhetoric on the site. Actually, as per the Grindr prescribed categories, there are 5 options. It ranges from bottom, verse, top, top. It's quite fluid and it changes from day to day.
But as a bottom, you can also have a power bottom, right?
Isn't
that a thing?
You can aspire to be one, absolutely.
How can you aspire? Like,
I suppose it's just like an ambiguous standard where you can say I'm an amazing bottom and I can take a huge dick, I suppose.
oh, is that what it means? Oh, so all this time I thought a power bottom was like, I'm the one receiving, but I'm like in charge and I'm making the moves.
Yeah, nah.
A power bottom is usually being dominated. A lot of tops are tops because they had their first anal experience and were horrified. And they never go back. And
Really?
I suppose that's a good way to find out. If you were longing to have something up your ass, I'm sure you'd make it happen. When I was a young, inexperienced gay, it was something that I had to deal with publicly displaying to people that I was a bottom. And I don't know, maybe that's something to do with it affronting your masculinity. Yeah, and I think I notice other people do as well, because as people get older and older, their positions generally start to change on Grindr from top to verse top. Oh, now they're just a verse. Oh, you're a verse bottom now. And it's like, okay, you're finding your own awakening. And it's beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
But I think it is a phenomenon that bottoms have to deal with. Do it with someone that you're comfortable with and you can actually just like relax and enjoy yourself. And I think if you're in a situation where you're with someone who's a little curious and you are feeling uncomfortable and tense, like you are literally tense the whole way down, and you won't enjoy the experience as much. Know how to keep yourself turned on in the moment, because taking something up your ass is quite an invasive experience. So yeah, something you have to get used to. Ooh, anal. Not to exclude oral but for gay sex, yeah, I'd say I didn't have sex with the guy unless he fucked me.
Yeah, that's your line.
Yeah, I'd be like, ooh, we got so close. Yeah, actually, absolutely. Because if I didn't douche to have sex with them, I didn't have sex with them.
Really?
We fooled around.
But what if you just like had the most magical like kissing and caressing and you like had oral and then like you both came, like you wouldn't consider that sex?
Yeah, nah.
I would go home and be like, damn it, to my housemate. I didn't have sex with him tonight, but next time we will. It was great.
There you go. That means it's time to redefine sex. Carl, would you like to hear what the current definition of sexual intercourse is? For video 8, it's had 6 edits now.
Oh, yes, please. Lay it on
Okay,
me.
so the current definition of sex is a consensual, intimate experience that lets us tap into unbelievable amounts of pleasure and power within both our bodies and minds. We're walking, talking pleasure powerhouses, and we are utterly magical.
Oh, the last bit. It's like, I'm talking to you.
I
You
know.
are magical. Sex isn't necessarily always sacred or spiritual. It can be quick, fast, and dirty. Because I think intimate refers to like the touching of something. So it's like you've got consent, you've got bodies touching. Instead of lets us tap into, what about like the experience like has the capability to let us do that? Perhaps we could edit it to say that sex is a consensual, intimate experience that enables us to tap into unbelievable amounts of physical, mental, and/or spiritual pleasure and/or ecstasy. The and/ors, albeit a little laborious, I think they reflect that every sexual experience is a completely different one, and you might not have pleasure and/or ecstasy in every single one.
Thank you. Yeah, that sex, it's hard. And I think that that's really important to note. Like, it doesn't matter how sexually liberated you are, to actually sit down and think about what sex...
I know, to pin it down.
Yeah, it's really hard. I don't think we have the language to do it. And I don't think that we've been encouraged to do it. Until doing this series, it's something that I never did to this level, where you actually break down looking at your past, what sex means to you, what do you get out of it. It's a difficult thing, but once you start thinking about it, the benefits that you can get from that and having conversations is really good. So thank you for sharing your insight and perspective. I really appreciate it. Carl, I think that you have inspired us to try new things and go outside of our comfort zone.
I hope so.
Yeah, thank you again for your time, and I'll see you soon and talk to you soon.
No worries at all. Thank you so much for having me.